What's up everyone, we're back at it again. My name is Brad and welcome back to my channel. Today what we want to do is we want to talk about why you shouldn't keep your philodendrons or pothos like this. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. We're really close to hitting 800 subscribers and it would be amazing if we could hit that goal. Now, without further ado, let's get into the content. Vining houseplants are perhaps the most popular and most common houseplant that exists out there today. And while it looks beautiful with its leaves just spilling over the pot, you aren't exactly getting the best or the most out of your vining houseplant when being kept like this. If you want to maximize the growth as well as the look and beauty of these houseplants, I'm going to show you what exactly you should do. If you want to maximize the growth potential of any of your philodendron, pothos, or any other kind of trailing houseplant, it's best to allow it to grow vertically. And by showing you a side-by-side comparison, you can kind of get a sense of why that is. When you see this houseplant on the left, this is a Hartley philodendron, and you compare it to the houseplant on the right, which is a Philodendron Brazil. These are both a part of the same philodendron family, yet you'll notice that this particular philodendron has leaves that are larger than the Hartley philodendron. And the reason why is because this philodendron is being allowed to grow vertically. As I move this camera up, you'll notice and you'll see that the leaves have become bigger and bigger as the plant continues to grow taller and taller up the moss pole. And the reason why this is happening is because you have to think and you have to remember what these plants look like in the wild. Really the best way to maximize the growth and beauty of a houseplant is to try and give it the same type of environment as it would have as if it were in the wild. So in the case of these philodendron, you have to remember these philodendron, they are essentially plants that start off in tropical rainforest, for instance, and they are very, very, very low to the ground. And what they do is they continue to grow horizontally until they reach something like a tree. Pretend like this is a trunk here. And once they reach this tree, all of a sudden there are hormones and there are different kind of chemical reactions that occur within the plant that send a signal that says, oh, I have finally reached something that's going to allow me to climb up. And as the plant begins to climb up higher and higher and higher, it is basically able to it's basically able to absorb more of that energy from the sun. And as it is getting more and more energy from the sun, the leaves are able to become larger and larger and larger. And this is what you're trying to achieve. You're trying to achieve that look, that feel, that experience that the plant has when it is in that natural environment, because only then will you have a plant that has reached its maximum potential. So don't get me wrong, there is definitely beauty in allowing your plant just to be in a pot and have the leaves spill over the side. And that's one of the primary reasons why I've kept this Hartley philodendron in a pot like this as opposed to allowing it to climb up vertically. And that's just because I like the look of it. But on the other hand, if you really want a plant that has leaves that are just going to become larger, then you really have to allow for your plant to climb, because that's really the only way that your plant is going to become larger, or your leaves are going to become larger. In this particular plant, this particular Philodendron Brazil, I did a chop and drop on. So that's why some of the lower leaves are on the larger side to begin with. But if I were to, for instance, allow this plant to grow up vertically, what you would see is you would see these lower leaves that really maintain the size, and then as it climbs up, the leaves are going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. So it's not like that once your plant attaches to a moss pole of some sort that the leaves that are on the lower side or on the lower part of the moss pole are going to get bigger. Once the leaves fully develop, they're fully developed. The only way that you're going to get these leaves on the lower side to become bigger is if you do the chop and drop. But I digress. The point is that in order for your leaves to become bigger, you need to make sure that you give it a moss pole. If you like videos like this and want to see more videos like it about houseplant tips and tricks, please be sure to subscribe to the channel. It's totally free and would mean a lot. Thank you so much. Now let's get back into talking about binding houseplants. So what I wanted to do is I really wanted to bring some of my other houseplants into the fold just so we can get a sense of what the different houseplants look like as they are either deciding to trail or if they are deciding to climb up some sort of moss pole. So on the far left, we have the heartleaf philodendron. And this heartleaf philodendron, again, it's just trailing. The leaves really aren't going to get much larger than this right here. And right beside it, we have its relative, which is the Philodendron Brazil, that has gotten leaves that are substantially larger simply because it is climbing up a moss pole. We also have this white knight philodendron. It used to be bigger than this, but it was struggling. I had to take a cutting, and I had a video about me rooting this. Luckily, I'm finally starting to get some growth and a little bit of white, so I hope that the variegation is able to maintain on that. But anyway, this one right here, there's no moss pole attached. And then we have the Thai constellation. For the Thai constellation, what I want to point out here, as you can see, moss pole is just now starting out the process. The leaves were smaller and the leaves are becoming larger. But I also want to point out this aerial root here. This aerial root is quite important when it comes to having a plant that is becoming larger and larger. And what that aerial root is doing is the aerial root is providing support for the plant. And once a plant realizes that it has support and begins to attach to any kind of pole or moss pole or tree or just something, that's when it starts to develop those larger and larger leaves. In the case of a monstera, though, this is probably most important if you want those fenestrations. So these aerial roots are essential. This one is going to go into the soil so it can continue to support itself. And then as it begins to climb up, it's going to really dig into this moss pole here. And if I zoom in on this particular Philodendron Brazil, you'll see something quite similar where the aerial roots of the Philodendron Brazil have really started to dig in to the moss pole. So we see these big, beautiful aerial roots here. And that's really what's allowing it to keep its support. And it's really just, climbing itself. Now, obviously, I did have to tie this here because it was a little bit separated. But even with that tie, I could most likely remove this. Yeah, it's not doing much of anything right now. And this Philodendron Brazil will be just fine. And interestingly enough, you can see that we have some branching here, but that'll be another video, some branching on my Philodendron Brazil, which is quite cool. Another branch right here. So yes, I don't think you can go wrong either way. It just depends on what you want to achieve and what you want your plants to look like. So there you have it. If you want to maximize the growth of your binding house plant, it's best to make them grow vertically as opposed to spilling over. I do think though that there is a time and place for everything. With a houseplant that is spilling over the side of the pot, I think it's a beautiful and elegant look. However, if you really want a plant that has those big, beautiful leaves, the only way you're going to achieve that is if you allow the plant to grow vertically as opposed to horizontally. Again, thank you so much for watching. My name is Brad, and I'll see you on the next one.